Good afternoon and welcome to the Healing Cycle. My name is Nyongesa Derek and today we are going to have a look at family trauma. This is a topic that we see most of the families have been affected. We are trying to give solution, and that's why you have Honorable Irene Paul. She's a registered, certified counseling psychologist here in Nakuru County, and I hope at the end of this session you will be utakuwa umesaidika na utakuwa unahakikisha kwamba kwa wale ambao pia wameweza kuathirika unaweza kuwapa ushauri. Na pia tukimaliza kipindi hiki pia tutakuwa ombi langu litakuwa kwamba tutakuwa tunasaidiana katika jamii. Kwa sasa utaniruhusu niweze kumkaribisha mgeni wetu rasmi kabisa tuweze kujua ni yapi ambayo ametuletea. Good afternoon, Honorable Irene Paul.
Good afternoon to you.
Uko salama?
Nashukuru, uko salama.
How was your day kutoka asubuhi? Or rather the other Monday tulikuwa nawe na tumeweza kupatana tena.
My day has been great. I had an awesome week and I thank God to be here.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm also good. I'm doing well.
Thank you.
Today we are going to have a look at family trauma. Of course, we are going to look at how the family is, the family setup, tuweze kujua what triggers trauma in our families. Tukianzia hapo, for the person who want to understand when we talk about trauma. Kuna mla tukitaja familia, already mtu anajua familia ni nini. But trauma, what is trauma?
Trauma is pain.
Pain.
That could be psychological, could be physical.
Yeah.
It is in many different areas.
Yeah.
And it is pain that is caused. It may be intentional or not intentional.
Not intentional, yeah.
Because as you say, it's a family. Because there are times parents hurt their children and they don't know.
Yeah.
And these are wounds that live forever. Because you'll find someone even at 60, they'll still remember what happened to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this pain, can we see it? Can we feel it? Or is only the person that is affected is the one to feel that pain?
It can be seen. It can be seen because a person who has grown with pain or somebody who has gone through trauma, of course, exhibits some different kinds of behaviors. Yeah, even when they are young and when they grow old. Yeah, so as you asked earlier about family setups, there are different kinds of family. Not everybody goes through the same experience in terms of family. There are those who are raised in families where they are both parents. There are those who are raised by their grandparents. There are those who are orphaned.
Yeah.
Who end up in orphanage homes. That is still family because that is where they grow up.
They grew up, yeah.
And we have single households, which are actually a majority right now. But there are different kinds of setups. There are also blended families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of things that are there that you see or rather we feel or that can be the cause that triggers trauma?
First of all, I believe and for sure research has proven is living within that environment that is traumatic in its own. And also having parents who have gone through trauma. So in most of the cases, they tend to pass down the trauma to the other generation. Yeah. Yes.
And I have heard many people speaking, like rather trying to talk to their parents, try to talk to their friends. Like, I'm not going to raise my children the way I was brought up. And you find out that maybe they are doing wanafanya vitu tofauti. And we have heard of Mau parents, that something has been there. And people will say, if you raise a person like, or if we raise you the way you were raised, I think it is not going to be good for us. Could that be the things?
That is basically trauma response.
Or
yeah, when you say that you're not going to raise your children the way you are raised, it's basically trauma response. And it clearly dictates and it shows, it indicates that you are still not over it yet. You see, because it is still very loud. By the time you pronounce it and say that you're not going to raise your children the way you are raised, what is that? How are you raised? That you don't want these kids to explain or to go through, sorry. So you don't want them to experience what you went through. What is that? So it means you've not come to terms with what happened. Because if you've come to terms, you will understand why that happened.
Yes.
Because, for example, they say most of the people who are raised in the 80s, the millennials and that other generation, I can't remember how they call it, the baby boomers or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a lot of physical punishment. You'd be caned until to a point of your near-death experience. If you hear most of them will say it's a near-death experience.
Yeah.
But if you look deeper, they did what their parents used to do to them. Our parents punished us double of how they were maybe punished by their parents. So why did that happen? These are behaviors that were learned and they are passed down generations. So if they were beaten out of trauma, definitely it's the same way they will pass the trauma down. The other issue is our parents also had their own issues.
Yeah.
They had gone through a lot of trauma because remember, before marriage was very sacred in the earlier generations.
Yeah.
You would not leave. No matter how bad the situation was, you would not leave.
Yeah.
So how did they use to vent out their pain sometimes? They would just beat you up because the moment you start,
Yeah.
you continue and the pain, you activate the pain actually. So they will hit you not because you're too wrong, because there's nothing different that the children of now are doing that we used to do.
Now, how do we create that environment? Like, for example, in a family setup where everybody has anger issues?
Because maybe of so many things. Because the families are different. They go through different experiences. And maybe if you would look at things deeply, children, the last spark, maybe the last bones.
Yeah.
They call them the last bones. They are always very different from the first kids.
Yeah.
You've never asked yourself why. It's because simply there's no child who experiences the same parent. We may be born of same parents, but we don't experience the same parents.
Yeah.
We all experience a different parent.
A different parent, yeah.
So the first child, assuming I got my child at an early age, or you got your child at an early age, you're still learning what parenting is, because nobody goes to a school of parenting. Everybody has their own way. There is no manual for parenting. So you find maybe at that point, the parents are very damaged. Maybe they're starting life. They're going through a lot of stress. You know, maybe they are young parents. Nobody to hold their back and tell them this is the way it used to go. Because if you remember before, when a woman would give birth to a child, they would get an older woman to be with them. But nowadays it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen in our society.
In our society, it doesn't happen. So you have to find your way out, figure out things in terms of parenting. Whether you go to Google, whatever you will do, but you have to figure it out. Now, assuming you're born of a parent who has depressive traits, what happens? Assuming you're being raised by a parent who was abused, whether physically or sexually, what happens? And
that's when we hear violence cases.
Yes. Why? Because they have not dealt with themselves. So you tend to be in a toxic environment. So everybody is angry because of things that are unresolved, a lot of issues that are unresolved within the setup and within a person, because it begins from a person. Now, the other challenge now that you're asking is how now does the whole family become toxic? So assuming you're from a different background, where you came from a very bad environment in terms of how you are raised, your experience is different. You are rejected in the family. There was a lot of hate, verbal abuse, all those things. And the other partner has also come from another background that has different issues. So you come together and you have to raise kids, yet you both have unresolved issues. So what do? You pass down the trauma to the children.
Now, you know, when this happen, I believe there are some signs that shows maybe this parent is affected.
Yes.
He or she is suffering from trauma. How do you identify such kind of a person?
You will identify because as I told you, people are different, so they act different. There are those who are extremely silent. That is why you will see people will ask at some point, how did that happen? That guy is always silent. Because you find that they would expect maybe when they hit someone with something and it becomes fatal.
Yeah.
People will ask, oh, how did it happen? We don't know the anger of that guy or that lady.
Yeah.
But one day they woke up and did everything and cleared out, wiped out everybody in the house, or maybe their spouse or family member.
Yeah.
Because maybe in that silence lies a lot of pain. There are those who now have outbursts.
Yeah.
So it is out there, you can read it and say, this anger is abnormal. Because anger, remember, is a natural response.
Yeah, yes.
But when it becomes unmanageable and when it becomes dangerous, is when now anger becomes an issue.
An issue, yeah.
But normally, you're angry. It's a normal emotion that you'll be angry because something didn't go the way you wanted.
Yeah.
But are you within healthy parameters of anger? So that is what happens. So there are those who will be angry, having those outbursts. There are those who will be physical. They don't know communication. They know how to fight. Because maybe where they came from, the only communication was through fighting.
Fighting, yeah. That's one of the issues that mostly we have experienced, or rather we have seen in the families here.
Yes.
When there is fight, families are broken.
Exactly. Because they don't know another way of dealing with issues. So you see, this is not their making. It is where they have come from.
Yeah.
They don't know any other communication method. You are wrong, I hit you. I don't know any other language.
Yeah.
So it comes from there, where they've come from. Now, the other issue is you were never allowed. I said you're silent. It is simply because you were never allowed to speak out when there is an issue.
Yeah.
So when we are used to telling kids, just shut up, don't talk, be quiet. Right?
And can it happen by chance that a person is just naturally silent?
It could be, but remember, even if you're naturally silenced, doesn't mean that you cannot express your dissatisfaction on things. Yes.
So could be there must be a reason why.
Yes, you could be suppressed. Why? Because you learned not to speak out, because you are told you should never talk about issues, even when you're harassed. You should remain silent. You see? So that person does not understand any other language growing up. That is why you will offend them, they'll be quiet. But deep down they are hurting. That is why when given an opportunity, for someone to open up, they will open up and you will hear very deep stories that have kept this person quiet. They would really want to talk, but remember, it's a script that was written in their brain by the way they were brought up. Don't talk about it. You get me? So the same thing when girls, because I don't want to say girls only, because nowadays even boys are being abused sexually.
Yes.
If you've listened to stories, what happens? They're told if you say this and this will happen.
Will happen, yeah.
If you dare speak out, this and this will happen. So what does that tell you? They're trained that for your safety, you have to remain silent.
You have to remain silent, yeah.
Which is wrong.
Now, I'm still trying to figure out because sometimes things may happen.
Yeah.
And as an adult, maybe you feel like maybe these people will change as they grow. You know, as parents, you find out that I have a kid who is always silent. She doesn't want to speak, even if you ask her to tell her something, if she's facing or she's going through a challenge or she's going through a challenge, he doesn't want to speak. Now, as a parent, I'm hoping that one day my son or my child will change. But now, we just sit there. Even if it's a family discussion, we found that he or she just say, I'm okay. Everything is okay. She agrees with everything. Now, how do we deal with that as parents? Maybe we have such a parent. He has a kid. When it comes to communication, he's silent.
Remember, one thing you should know is that behaviors are learned. Behaviors are learned.
Yeah.
So they are learned, you can unlearn and you can relearn. That is how behaviors occur.
Yeah.
And remember how we learn. Mostly we learn through our social environments where we grow up. So if war was part of the environment, that is what you pass on. If there was calmness and good communication skills, that is what you carry on. So when you say that behaviors are relearned, unlearned, and relearned, what do we mean? You can train your child and speak to them and tell them, when this happens, this is how you should You should act. If somebody bullies you, this is how you should act. So all these things, when we talk about families, most of the key issues and behaviors are learned from family, from church, from school.
Yeah.
Because those are very, very critical areas as a child is growing up. So that environment dictates now, is there healing that occurs? Because basically we are talking about trauma.
Trauma, yeah.
What happens? Because you'll find there is somebody within the family, but they were traumatized by somebody within the church.
Within the church.
You see. So what does that tell you? The pain rotates around a family.
Yeah.
And now that what happens, it's passed on. Because as you've said, how does this child learn? They only learn from that setup. That's the first setup. Because you learn from home before now you join school and before you join church.
Now, that brings in the question of where we go. Because I can, maybe somebody might come to from a family, he or she is affected mentally and she's suffering from that trauma. Is there any possibility that I can carry it to places where I go?
Yes.
Like when I go to a meeting, when I go to meet my friends, my presence is affecting them.
Yes, because remember, trauma affects even the way you relate, the way you socialize, the way you fall in love, the kind of friends you choose. Yes, because you tend to have a lot of trust issues depending on the kind of trauma you've gone through. Because when you're told you're good for nothing in the family, that's verbal abuse. And it's very traumatic. Yeah. It's like you'll never be someone, you're the most useless person that we have ever seen, with all these behaviors and your poor academic performance, you will never be anything. So what happens when you get into settings, as you're saying, and how you have to relate with people in a certain way? So assuming people are intellectuals where you are, and remember you are told that you're good for nothing.
Good for nothing.
Because you're a poor performer. And poor performance, there is no really poor performance because it depends with the expectations of the people. So now you tend to hate yourself. You are not going to get into those conversations. Why? Because your self-esteem, the way you relate with people, the way you see yourself, your self-worth, you don't even trust yourself. So that affects you automatically. Yeah.
And all this bring us back to communication. Remember when you tell us that maybe a person was raised, she was not allowed to give comment. Like everything that was said, it was final. Now, when it comes to communication again, is it going to affect her the way she addresses issues outside?
Yes.
Outside family?
Definitely. Remember, there is a way fear is instilled in you. Because when you're told to always be quiet, that is intimidation. Yeah. That is fear. So this person tends to think that this is the normal way to function. But it's not the normal way to function. Yeah. So for you, you're expecting them to function in a certain way in terms of communication. But remember, there is a way they were told is the right way to communicate because that's how they were socialized. And that is how they were conditioned. That expression is actually disrespect. You see? So definitely it will affect how you communicate, whether it is to your partner, whether it is in class, for those who are in school, whether it is to your peers, it affects your communication all round. All round. Yes.
Is there any way that we can, is there any way for us to correct this issue?
Yes.
How do we do it? Or rather, how do we deal with it?
Just as I've said,
for example, we have a family and maybe, as you said, nimetoka kwa familia ambapo nilikerwa. I come to meet a person pia alikerwa, tukapata watoto, tukawalea. But hatujui vile tunawaangazia, vile tunawalea, hatujui kama tunawakera. Maybe you are affecting them. And some of them, because they are afraid to speak out, they just end up because they are my parents. Sasa nitafanya nini? Na ni wazazi ambao Mungu amenipatia. How do we correct it here?
I think that is where now the counseling comes in. Because remember, I've told you, behaviors are learned and relearned. So you have to write a different script and inform these people how now to deal with issues in a healthy way. Yeah. As you've said, remember you've come together to raise children. Yeah. You have your way of life. The other person have their way of life. Yeah. So you have to find a common ground of how you're going to raise your children, because it is you who you, the two of you who are writing a new script in the children's lives. So if you are in your unhealed version, be rest assured that version is the one that you will parent with.
You will parent with,
But when you seek help and you heal from the things that traumatized you and tormented you, you know, because these are things that are imprinted in someone's psyche. So it is in your system, because that pain, you've never let it out. You've never addressed it. So the only way is to seek help and talk to someone about it. And the best person to talk to is a psychologist or a counselor, because they will show you the way to unlearn what you learned. Because if you continue that way, you may end up even raising kids who are worse than you are.
No, I've come across video clips, the way parents try to punish their children. You look at a video and you start asking yourself questions. Was this really a punishment to my kid or to that kid? Then as the society now is, you find out that maybe somebody has reported to a police station. Then they want to ensure that legal issues are now being followed now. Are we trying to help the situation?
Of course, the legal aspect is going to come in, because there is a law that protects the children from such kind of punishment. As I've told you, there is normal punishment and there is abnormal punishment. And there are different ways of punishing children. But remember, we were conditioned to know that the only way to punish a child is through corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment,
But you know, there are other ways that you punish a kid and they will never repeat what they have done. But because you are taught that this is the only way to correct mistakes, so what do? You have your anger issues, you have your own pain, and then you embark on disciplining the child. So when all these areas awaken when you're punishing, you find that now you punish the kid beyond the normal punishment. Why? Because it is not actually punishing the kid. You're actually even projecting pain on this kid towards the people. Remember, the people who maybe you wanted to talk back or fight back, but you are never able to fight back. So what do? You vent everything and project everything on this innocent soul. So that is why you find someone will actually batter a child even to death. If you look deeper, that person has a lot of unresolved pain within them. And that is why now it's being projected on the innocent child.
The innocent child.
Yes.
And the child also end up being traumatized.
Exactly.
Because of the punishment that she received.
Exactly.
Now, because this is a healing cycle, is there a possibility that a person who is traumatized can really come out from that trauma?
Yes, it is. Sometimes what you will do, you will learn. First, you have to acknowledge that you have trauma. And that is the biggest problem that we have, because many people don't accept that they are traumatized. You look at the behaviors, they will look at the behaviors, but they don't see the root of the behavior, because every behavior has a root cause. So, for example, people who are raised in families, very stable families, and then the parents divorce later. Maybe they divorce when their parents divorce when they are teenagers. Remember, this is a person who has grown with both parents, but now has to juggle between homes because the parents are not together anymore. Do you know that only will affect how this person is going to be in a relationship when they grow up and when they marry? First, if there was a lot of abuse within the setup before the divorce, whether it was verbal, whether it was physical, economical, because there are many kinds of abuses, this person will be hypervigilant. Why? Even when they make a decision of marrying, remember the script that they saw in their family. They are afraid of it replaying in their own marriages or in their relationships. That is trauma.
Allow me to use this example, and I'm very sure you have heard of it because it was on social media, it was all over the internet. here in our country. We have these young men. They were a young woman and a young man. They were in a relationship, and of course they were in campus. Then one of their friends died when they were in a party celebrating. Now when they were reported, or they were before the judge, wanasikizwa pale. Now this is my aspect. I'm asking question because she was the boy was asked to ask for forgiveness. Then the boy courageously, I'm not going to ask for forgiveness to my dad, to ask my dad forgiveness. Kama mama hajaitikia. You see, that raises a question mark.
Yes.
How is that family?
That tells you there's a problem. And that obviously tells you there is no relationship between the boy and the father.
And the father, yeah.
Because why? Both parents are equal. That is how it should be.
Yeah.
And they deserve the respect, same respect.
Yeah.
So why is it the boy will say, I will not apologize unless my mom authorizes that? That's a very deep statement.
Yeah.
It simply tells you the mother is a decision maker and the father has no power over this child.
Yeah.
So he's voiceless when it comes to the life of this child. So the question is, why? Do you find there are family issues that have maybe made the boy realize I'm only answerable to my mother and not my father? You see? And
of course, I've not said the whole story.
Yes.
The whole story because of time. But we all know what happened.
Yes.
But my question was, why should the boy refuse to ask for forgiveness from his dad?
He will, because you see, it comes from respect. When you're seeking for forgiveness, is first acknowledging that you are wrong and acknowledging that there are people you owe an explanation and an apology to.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it was not an easy thing to the parent.
Yeah.
But why did the boy feel that he did not owe the dad an apology? Unless there's permission from the mother. It means that is the way they communicate. It's unless my mother says my dad deserves nothing from me.
Now, again, I've come to ask myself this question because in a family where everything is okay, but you found out that children are the ones that are suffering. Maybe she was affected outside because they had friends. But now as a parent, you don't know what's happening with your children. They don't want to speak out, but you're having damaged children at home, but you don't know.
But maybe just to correct you, there are no perfect families. There has never been. That is just a story. Every family has its own challenge. And the outcome of the children, sometimes is not dictated by the parents. Remember, there are people who raise their children, as the society says, very well and perfectly. But unfortunately, there is peer pressure out there. There are other environments that also shape your child. There is school. There is campus. You see, there is the church. There is your vicinity, which is the neighborhood. You may not even have a history of smoking weed within your family, but when the child steps out to the neighborhood, they find friends who are smoking weed. So are you to blame for that? Because remember, you don't really have much control for the environment. You see? So the parents will, of course, have a responsibility, but only to a certain level. Because now when your child is in school, you're not in control of whatever happens there. So I would say kids would always turn out different. There's parenting, but also remember there are also other factors that even may counter your correct parenting. You see, that is why we say it is important for us parents to discuss other issues other than just wanting them to go through education and all that. There are many other factors. Tell them, when you go out there, you're likely to meet this and this. How do you deal with it? You see, so the outcome of a child that is not really dictated by our parenting. Yes.
And during those sessions, like for those people who come or who visit your office, they want to get some guiding and counseling. What's the approach? What's the whole process? Should the family come? Should they come with their kids?
The first thing,
for those who want to seek help,
it depends which age specifically you're talking about. Under 18 years,
it can
below
be,
18,
below 18, and for those who are now above 18,
below 18, when you're above 18, you don't need really the consent of a parent to come for counseling. But those ones now who are underage, you have to seek consent from the parent. Then after that, there's also family therapy. Because you realize most of the things the teenagers are dealing with that are causing a lot of pain. Because you see even the behaviors, you see the kids are sent home from school. Because they are stealing, they are doing so many things. There are these games like gambling in schools. If you look deeper, it emanates from the family, because every behavior I told you has a root. So when you dig deeper, you realize it's a family issue. Either there is a lot of conflict at home, either they are dealing with an alcoholic dad or an alcoholic mom, either they are suffering from, there is a lot of neglect. There is a lot of abuse. Sometimes it's even sexual. So at the end of the day, you have to involve the parents. After you've gotten to know the root cause of the issue, is now you have to bring in the parent, and then they have to go through family therapy.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, I know people are watching outside there, and today, remember, we have talked about family trauma, all the causes, what triggers, and we want to help someone there at home who is watching, or somebody who is affected. We have our psychologist Irene Paul, ambaye ni mshauri na anahakikisha kwamba anasaidia watu katika jamii kuhakikisha kwamba iwapo basi umeweza kuathirika. Remember the last time we had a discussion about suicidal thoughts, or rather ending suicide. And today it's family trauma. You might have this challenge, or someone who is affected with these issues that we have been addressing. You can talk with us, you can talk to Madam Irene Paul, atakuwa anakusaidia. But we still asking ourselves questions, because you are saying as we try to help the society, we want to bring the good out of the society. Now, when it comes to now the healing process, this is now the bigger part, or the largest part, the bigger part. You find out that we have people who are afraid to talk about this issue, because they were hit at some point. Mtu alitaka kusema akapigwa, na mwingine kwa sababu ishawa itokea kwamba mtu alijaribu kusema na in the process akapoteza maisha. People are scared. How do you address this issue?
We need to normalize to talk about family, because many people assume or imagine that when you talk about family, you're embarrassing your family. But look at the pain that people go through. Just maybe to let you know, do you know that many of the people who are battling addictions, do you know most of them, the root causes are family trauma.
Family trauma.
Pain that came from family, not strangers, but family. And family is the first place where we feel secure, but now it becomes a source of pain. Healing is a process. Healing is a process. And of course, depending on how now you reacted, your response to the trauma, because there is a response to that trauma. Do you start unhealthy coping habits, like being on drugs, pornography, all those things? Because everybody tries to cope differently, depending on the pain that they went through. It is possible, healing is possible, but the first things first for everyone is first accept that pain was caused. Acknowledge the pain. Then from there now, you seek help. Now after seeking help is when now you go through the process of healing, because there are stages. But the first stage is acknowledging that this pain has taken a toll on you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now for those people who want to reach you out, you say the last time I remember you said you are on social media and you are now moving out from office. You are going to the people.
They can give me a call. You can call me on 0716 910 540 so that we can have a conversation and we are able to see how we can help. And it is important for everyone to know that every family has its own challenges. And pain happens sometimes because the other person didn't even know they were causing you pain. Of course, there are those who cause pain deliberately to you. But when you look deeper, you come and realize that these people didn't even recognize the depth of pain they caused you. So it is important we do an assessment, we do an evaluation, and have a conversation on how to deal with the kind of pain that one is going through.
Wow, thank you. And I think that has been encouraging, and we have helped somebody there at home who is watching. Now, your last thought on family trauma as we wind up. Yeah.
Don't shy away to address the pain caused by family, because that is actually what is hurting our society. Because most of the people have been hurt from the family level. Now they are going out there hurting others. That is why you see what they say about hurt people hurt others. But if you look down, it comes from family. Before you're betrayed or hurt by friends, before trauma is caused out there, it first happens within the family. And you know, it's actually different, because we have this mindset that nobody is supposed to hurt you within family. But unfortunately, it happens every day. So don't be shy about it. Be ready to talk about it. It is the best thing that you can do, because you need to heal. You need to forgive. Even if there will be no reconciliation, at least you're forgiven.
Wow, thank you. And I would like to appreciate you for the good work you are doing as a psychologist, as we try to serve the society. And it's my prayer that we are going to have a good family. Not just a family, but a setup that we can call it as a family. Thank you so much. That is for today. I've been your host, Nyongesa Derek, the Healing Circle Show. Till next time, have a good time.